Welcome to the Coming Clean podcast with your host, Peter Esteves.
Hit a dash in my position, you will never last. Real talk, I had to get it from the mall. Real talk, now I'm vibing with a bankroll. Cash.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Coming Clean podcast. Today we have an incredible human being, an entrepreneur, the leading authority on web-based education, Mr. Brad Lee. Hello, Brad. Welcome.
How are you? Appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I've been really looking forward to this interview. You are the founder and CEO of LightSpeed VT, and you have revolutionized online education. You have set a gold standard on how development is delivered, tracked, reported, ensuring maximum performance and accountability and retention and results. You are a pioneer in this industry, and you started making CD-ROMs that cost you $200. Tell us about that. Tell us how you got that start and how you went on to become who you are today.
Well, originally I was, very effective at sales. So I rose up through the ranks, started running sales teams, and then ran sales departments, and then would do turnarounds for companies. And I got very good at training people. So ultimately I got hooked on the feeling of helping people, kind of change their lives through making more money, right? And if you can teach someone how to sell, close, and persuade, well, then they'll make more money. They'll have a better life than they would have prior to your help. So I got hooked on it because I helped this guy and I watched his whole life change. So I quit my job working for an organization and I went out on the road to do my own training and start my own training company. So I went out on the road and I couldn't get the same results. The impact wasn't as big and I couldn't figure out why. So I looked around and did a little research and figured out 4 key ingredients that are required for effective training. And most companies weren't delivering them. Nor was I, and that was the problem. So the 4 ingredients was good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. And a lot of companies, they're trying to quote unquote train their people, but they're really just exposing their people to some information. I call it exposure because, if I sit you down and tell you something and check a box, say that you're trained, you're not really trained. You're just kind of exposed to that information. So I had to figure out a way where I could, give the repetition and the practice and the accountability. So I initially created interactive CD-ROMs. Now this was, I think in 99, let's say 2000. And, they would go up, they would come up missing and, people would break them and want a new set for free. And they cost me $200 a pop, but I was selling them for $10,000 a year. So ultimately, that just, as I recognized I'm going to have to keep, replacing these, I just said, man, I need to move this online. So ultimately, I started out on CD-ROMs just briefly and figured out that wasn't a good method of delivery and then transferred to the internet. Not many people know that. I'm surprised you did your research.
And I want to touch on 2 things that you touch on that. First of all, you actually trained a porter to become that salesman. Was that your motivation to start that online training?
Yeah. I mean, he was one of the hardest working people at the dealership making the least amount of money. And, in life, that's usually how it is. If you look at the hardest workers, and what I define hard work is, back breaking, blisters, sweat, like not hard work as in, I work 18 hours. That's not necessarily hard. Like no offense to radio DJs, but, radio DJs, not hard work. Okay. They can say they're working hard, but that's not hard work. Hard work is digging ditches, So this guy was a hard worker, but he wasn't making any money, and his wife and family would come in and I would just kind of see I wouldn't say shame, but I could see that they were just, their heads were down. They were wearing clothes from, thrift stores and, old raggedy tennis shoes, but he was just one of the coolest dudes ever. And I just wanted to help him. So I said, man, let me show you how to sell and close. And, next thing you know, these kids came in in new clothes and, you could see the brightness in their face, and the wife, walked in with her head held high, and, he became a new person, and, it just got me hooked to helping people. And that was the first time I really wanted to help other people. Before that, it was just all about me. You know, if I sold you, it was so I could get a commission. If I trained you, it was so I could make more money, you know, because I made more money on you. So it's like, you know, I was training people so I could make more money, so I could build up my sales team so I could make more money. I never did it to help other people. And so this was the first time I did it to help other people, just purely. And it was just an amazing feeling. So I decided, man, I'm going to quit my job and go help people learn to make more money.
Brad, you come from real humble beginnings. Your mother abandoned you and your 3 other siblings at a very young age. And you actually dropped out of school when you were 16 years old. How did you go from transitioning that into becoming, you know, what you just described, you know, where it was about making money and being selfish and being self-centered and it being about doing the next deal, but then you got moved and motivated to help this one particular individual. Why that individual? What clicked right there and then?
You know, I couldn't tell you. Maybe just maturity. I don't know. He was a cool dude. I knew I had the ability to help him, so I just wanted to help him.
Okay.
You know? And I got hooked on that feeling of the fact that, like, man, I've got the ability to help people. Before that, it never really occurred to me.
Brad, another story that kind of that really fascinated me about you was because you've been a chameleon of a sorts. You know, you have this one dealership that told you that your system was not working. You flew to go meet with him in California. He wanted his money back. His money was $10,000, and you didn't have the money. Tell us that story, and what was your experience? What did you learn from that experience?
Man, you do your homework, I got to tell you. Damn.
Well, Brad, I mean, I want to bring some value to our conversation, and I want to bring some value to you, and that's the only way we can do it, right?
Well, I put a money-back guarantee on the CD-ROMs, where if you used them and everybody learned my presentation, if you didn't make more money and increase your conversion, I would give your money back. And I gave the guarantee because I knew if you did what I taught you to do, you're going to make more money. There's no question. So I failed to realize that, man, there's some people out there with not the highest of ethics. And I didn't realize that, you know, you can assume that people are learning, but they're not. And you can assume that people are training, but they're not. So I didn't really know that at the time. So when I put out that money back guarantee, sure enough, a dealer called me, wanted me to, you know, give him his money back. Well, I didn't have his money, nor did I have the money to fly down and test his people, because one of the disclaimers was that you had to submit to make sure your people knew the presentation. It was called the Real Deal Lease Presentation. And so that was my out, is, hey, I have to go prove these people don't know it. Otherwise, I got to pay him his money. And I didn't have it. And I didn't even have money to get there. So I borrowed like $600, flew down there. The guy made me wait like 4 hours sitting there, acting like he was busy. And, you know, dealers are notorious for that. But ultimately, I sat outside of his office for like 4 hours. I was getting ready to miss my return flight. And then I would have spent another $100 switching my flight. It was just terrible experience. So I was sitting outside of his office. Finally, he looked out and he went like this and said, come on in. So I walked in there and he said, did you bring my check? And I said, well, first we have to make sure that your people are all trained. And he said, well, how are we going to do that? And I said, well, just call 2 people in and let's test them. And so he looked out, waved in his 2 best sales guys, and they walked in, and, you know, they didn't recognize me, which was a good indication, right? Because if you went through that CD-ROM as often as you should have, you'd know my face. So at the end of the day, they didn't recognize me. So that was kind of a good indication. And I said, you know, tell me the Real Deal Lease Presentation. And so they started to try, which clearly wasn't it. And if you knew the real deal, you know how it starts every single time. You know, I don't care whether you lease or finance, you know, we're going to get a check from the bank either way. That's how it begins. So they didn't say that, which means they didn't know it. And within about 30 seconds of them babbling, you know, the GM knew that they hadn't learned it. And he said, all right, forget it. Thanks for your time. And basically, you're free to go. I'm not expecting a check back. You're right. My team is not trained. See ya. And I'm thinking to myself on the way home, man, I just spent $600 and 4 hours to come down here and test people to see if they knew, man, I got to figure out a cheaper way of coming down and testing people. So that's really what caused me to start looking to the internet. I thought if I could put this content on the internet and track, measure, and monitor who's taking it and test them along the way to make sure they understood it and give them role play and practice, I wouldn't have to fly down when people wanted their money back. I could just press a button and say, nope, 5 of your guys aren't trained. So I kind of developed it out of necessity. That was the catalyst.
In addition to that, one of the things that you were encountering in your business and the new industry was that when you were seeing prospective customers, they were also wanting some of your competitors' content. They wanted other training. They wanted other type of training that you were not offering at the time. And you were one of the first pioneers to begin collaborations and incorporating a library of experts and expertise into your portfolio. Tell us a little bit about that, and why did you do that, and who are some of those collaborators today?
Well, close, but not really. What happened was I put my training online and it started to work. I started to get the results again because I found the 4 keys: good content being delivered with repetition, practice, and accountability. So my system was designed for me. So I put my content in there and I went out to sell it to everybody, and I had, success selling it, but then I ran it. I didn't have a big name or anything, nor a big marketing budget. So not many knew who I was. So as I started to approach the masses and knocking on a lot of doors, a lot of them would already have, decided this, Grant Cardone or Joe Verdi or a number of people, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, a guy by the name of the phone trainer's name, Tom Stuker, all of these big name trainers in the industry. They kept saying, no, we use this guy and we use this guy and we use this guy. So I just kept getting tired of being told no. And I got tired of trying to convince them that I was better than those trainers, which in my mind I was. However, I couldn't convince them. So I wasn't that good apparently. So that's when I decided, man, I can either compete with these guys and go up against huge training or marketing budgets and, celebrity status, or maybe if they, if I had those people in my system, well, then they would buy it. So I would confirm with the dealer. So if I had, let's say Grant Cardone on this system, you'd buy it. He said, yeah, I'd buy it if it was Grant Cardone, but, not you, we use him. So I just said, I'm going to go close Grant on using my system. So I went and tracked down all of these big name people and closed them. And, I think in life, if you contribute and create more, the way the universal law works, more will be given. But when you compete and try to take other people's stuff and it doesn't work the same. So I decided to collaborate and create. And so I closed those guys, private labeled my LightSpeed system for them, and then let them go sell all the dealers. I even told them where a few were, and I told them to go out and do all the selling, and I would just focus on the platform. And so ultimately that's what I did. I went out and sold all the big names, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, John Maxwell, Grant Cardone, Joe Verdi, the list goes on, Tom Stuker, like all of them. I just closed them on using my software. And then I just took a little piece of revenue from them and to facilitate the platform, which was a licensing deal. I didn't know licensing is really where you want to be back then, but that's where you want to be. So I stopped traveling. I stopped saying I was the greatest. I stopped being a trainer, and I just started being the CEO of a software company, which, by the way, never in a million years did I think I would be. I could barely send an email. But, looking back, it's real easy to see what you did right and what you did wrong. And looking back, I kind of sat down one day and figured out what I did over the last 20 years to get where I am today. And it's ultimately what I call the 5 factors. Number 1, you got to take a chance. Okay. Most people are too afraid to take a chance because they're worried about what might happen if they fail and, what people might say. And, they fear the worst. Well, you have to take a chance or you're going to work for someone who does. So number 2 is you have to get good at solving problems. I faced a lot of problems and I got really good at solving them. Most people avoid problems. 3, you have to be able to make adjustments. Most people get laser focused on one thing and they're not listening to any information and making any adjustments along the way. So I made adjustments. I started out as a trainer live, went to a CD-ROM, then went to online, then went to just straight the software. So you got to make adjustments. 4 is you have to literally seek new information every single day. You have to learn, constantly learn and develop yourself. If you don't like what you're getting, you have to change what you're doing, right? So ultimately I learned that I need to learn. And then ultimately the last one is I realized that instead of looking at what everybody else is doing, I had to focus on me. So instead of, comparing myself to everybody else, I just decided, that I'm going to compare myself to myself, which I wrote down as outdo yesterday. So if you just, take chances, learn to solve problems, look for them, don't avoid them, learn to make adjustments, continue to learn and develop your skills and knowledge, and outdo yesterday, man, it's just a matter of time before you get where you're going.
In a time like today, I would think that there's an incredible opportunity to expand your business across the world just because of social distancing, just because people are working remotely, just because there's a lot of opportunities. People are seeking, people are hungry for change, for innovation, for learning, for education. This is a new wave. What are you doing, or what is your company doing to grow and expand?
Well, we have a motto here, it's called kick our own ass. So my developers that have been with me for a long time, we're not, I don't hire a bunch of people over in India or somewhere else to build my stuff. I have all local, developers that have been with me, and their instruction every day is to come in to put us out of business. So every day they come in, their sole purpose is to try and put us out of business. I want them to assume that they are competing with LightSpeed, and they need to develop something that would make LightSpeed obsolete. So basically it's kick our own ass. Like, I'm not going to wait for someone to come in with a much better product and kick our ass. I'm going to do that ourselves. I'm going to kick our own ass. And every day that's what they do. They just look for ways to better the system, better the features, customer service, et cetera, et cetera. So, we have vastly different platform than we had when we started. And how do we do it? We listen. We listen to users. We listen to people that are using the platform, and we're paying attention to where we think the world's going. Interactivity I was doing 20 years ago. People are just getting to video, but video's lame. Like, video just plays. People don't understand what I mean. Like, well, what's a video supposed to do? A LightSpeed interactive video can pop up, ask questions, adapt, change based on who's going through it and what they're choosing and opting into. You can use that for making assessments and literally determine, okay, this person needs to go through this and this person doesn't need that. They need this. How? Because our video is interactive. So again, we've been interactive video for over 20 years. People are just getting to video. So believe it or not, they got a long ways to go to catch up with us. But the difference is most people don't realize, which is my marketing nightmare, is what's the big difference. And the big difference is theirs is a hosting solution like any other system out there, because there's plenty of them now where you can host your quote unquote training videos. They're just linear videos. They don't adapt. They don't ask questions. They don't collect data. They're just a video. So they host them, right? You give people a password where they can access the video, but that's it. Theirs is a hosting solution. LightSpeed was created to get you to learn what was in the video. So if you're a training company, why do you want a hosting solution? That's just a place to put your videos and give access. Why wouldn't you want a learning technology? So when you look under the hood at both of them, one is a hosting solution and one is a learning technology. That's like trying to use a flower pot to get to the store. I'd hop in the car. That's what it's built for.
You did an interview with Spence Hodge, and Spence operations are in Dubai, and he asked you that. Well, he actually invited you. He said, you need to come out here and just basically take over the market. There's a great opportunities for you. And there's something that struck me about that interview in your response. You said, nah, I'm kind of undecisive. Why would I want to go there? And it really struck me because that's not your persona. I mean, that's not the Brad Lee that I see on Instagram that is out there, that motivates us and drives us. And you got me off my ass many a times. And I tell you that. I mean, honestly, that's why I looked you up and I searched you and I wanted you to come on the podcast, because I got that energy from you. Why would it be that you would, how is it that somebody with your personality, with your drive, with your motivation, with your creative mind and innovative mind would be undecisive? How does that happen?
Well, it wasn't that I was being indecisive. At the end of the day, I haven't finished what I'm doing here. So why would I go to Dubai and start something new? Like, let me finish what I'm started. You know, once I've taken over this space and I've maxed out this space, well, then I might consider another space. But right now I'm focused on, you know, doing what I'm doing. Why would I go clear over to Dubai?
No, that makes perfectly good sense. Now, is there a Brad Lee precedent for 2028, or is that just a Brad Lee smoking a cigar, talking shit?
No, there might be a Brad Lee 2024, but just depends on who's running. Again, if I think someone can do the job, I wouldn't try to run against people. I'm just tired of the politicians. I'm tired of the lies and the ridiculousness. You know, like, where's the common sense in politics these days? Our government is supposed to be representatives of the people, right?
Absolutely.
So the people get to decide what happens, not the government. The government right now, and a lot of local governments, you know, California, here now in Nevada, they're basically forcing people, mandating that we wear masks. Well, listen, you can do all the tests you want, and wearing a mask will decrease your oxygen levels below what OSHA says is safe. So in other words, if I made someone work in an environment with the same oxygen levels as a mask, they would say it's against the law. You can't make people operate in that environment, but yet they're making us wear masks. Now, again, if you want to wear a mask, go ahead. You know, but don't force us to wear a mask. That lowers our oxygen levels. It causes pleurisy. It causes, I mean, I talk to a lot of people here that are forced to wear masks. They have headaches every day. You know, they're getting problems because of masks. So, and that's just one example, because I see a lot of people, man, how hard is it to put on a damn mask? Listen, it's not hard at all, but you know, how hard is it to give 100% of your money to taxes? How hard is that? You know, just do it. But no, I don't like the status quo. You know, I don't believe the government is for our protection. I think the government is filled with long-term politicians that are lining their pockets at the expense of the country. And I'm just tired of it. So in 2024, I would consider running for president, but it's a little bit of talking shit because, man, talk about a stretch goal. Talk about a big dream. Like, come on. I don't really actually believe I would actually get elected. However, I've always wanted to go down in the history books. And if you run for president, you are 100% written down in the annals of time as a presidential candidate. And I think, you know, 200 years from now, someone looks back at 2024, they're like, you know, Brad Lee ran for president. Who is this fella? And now all of a sudden, you know, I've accomplished that goal, which is to be, you know, written in the history books. That's just a goal. So I thought president, maybe running for president might be kind of killing two birds with one stone. And who knows, what if I win?
You are already down in the history of the internet. I mean, you know, you can Google your name and you can see there's more information about you, Brad Lee, than there is about Abraham Lincoln or Andrew Jackson or many of the other.
Oh, wow. Well,
maybe not in the Library of Congress, but if you look at the internet, there's plenty of information about you.
Yeah, Brad, well, listen, nobody's teaching kids about Brad Lee in schools.
Well, I absolutely, and
I'll take Abraham Lincoln and George Washington any day.
Well, and part of the problem in schools is that they're not teaching them what kids should be learning. You know, practical solutions. You know, emotional resilience, how to transition, how to balance a checkbook, how to deal with the world, how to get with one another,
How to close the deal.
yeah, how to close a deal, how to make it in life,
Sales.
So let me ask you another question. Where do you go from here? Where do you go from here in order to you alluded to a lot of the things that are going on in our country, which I completely agree. How do we use our platforms to close that gap where people feel more empowered than the government? How do we do that, Brad? I mean, you're very outspoken. You make an impact every day. How do we as a collective do it?
Well, the only way to do it is for we to be a collective. The problem is they get us apart. The word is slipping, but they segregate.
Divide us.
They basically separate us by causing all of this false narrative, like, the whole black versus white. Dude, I'm sure there's some racist, prejudiced people, but the majority of the people are not racist and they're not prejudiced. We're not all at war. Men versus women, gay versus straight. That's the narrative. They don't want to show the things where there's people getting along. That doesn't sell any freaking headlines. So at the end of the day, I think, and again, when I say they, it makes me feel like a conspiracy theorist. It's like, well, who's they? But ultimately, I think the media portrays the worst because, believe it or not, people seem to like to watch train wrecks. If I turned on the news every day and it's like, well, there's another beautiful day, everybody's getting along. There was a few jerk-offs over at the mall causing trouble, but mainly, everybody's happy and we were playing tennis and, it's going to be like, boring. But I think they purposely keep us to where there is no more we. Do you know why? Because we, the people, are supposed to be in charge. We, the people, determine everything. So the only way that the government, which is 535 people, what is it, 535, I think? 535 people in the government. They are now the we. And they don't want all of us communicating. So your question was, well, how do we collectively make a change? That's the only way, in my opinion. We have to take the control back. We have to elect all new people. Like, I propose to get rid of every single politician that's been in there longer than one term. Get rid of them. Okay, I don't care, Democrat, Republican, get rid of them. They've got their backroom deals, and then allow the people to freaking come back together as a unified body. If for example, if in Nevada, I got a text and it said, hey, you want masks mandatory or optional? I would click optional. Now, I wonder what every other resident would pick. Now, every single person here, or at least the majority, said optional, and you wanted it to be mandatory. Well, then guess what? Move to California where they want it mandatory. I'd move, literally. If it becomes law here, I started looking on the internet last night. I found Montana. It's like, I'm going to go take a visit, man. I'll move over it.
So you were literally pack and move to Montana.
Yeah, you don't tell somebody, what if somebody doesn't want to wear a mask? Well, you have to. What are you talking about? Why would I have to? Well, you're endangering people. I'm a completely healthy individual. Tested negative. Like, you can come test me. I don't have anything. Well, you got to wear a mask anyway. No, I don't. And I'm not going to. I'm not wearing a mask. It depletes my oxygen. It harms my immune system. You can ask 100,000 different doctors, epidemiologists, respiratory therapists. They all agree wearing a mask is not better than not wearing a mask. You wear a mask if you're sick. Okay, you wear a mask to protect the open wound if you're doing surgery. I'm not doing surgery. I've tested negative for COVID. Guess what? I don't have anything. I'm not wearing a mask, and neither are my children. So guess what? If everybody in this state decides that they would like it to be mandatory, I'm not mad at everybody. That's their choice, and that's why I would run for president, and that's how I think we can change things. Like, allow us to vote every Friday on the things that are happening. Like, I'd love it if every Friday you go home and from 6 to 9, if you care, and if you don't care and you didn't vote, well, then live with the circumstances and quit bitching when the laws pass. But at the end of the day, if we went home from 6 to 9 on a Friday, I got 31 things that I need to vote on. Everybody voted. They tabulated it. Here's the rule. Here's what we said. Here's what the majority wants. And if you don't like what the majority wants, then go to where the majority is of your idea, right? And then it would be great, because all the people that want masks would end up in the place where everyone wants to wear a mask, and everyone that doesn't want to wear a mask would end up where you don't need to wear a mask. It's just common sense. Now you're getting me all riled up on politics.
Well, that's the Bradley I like to hear. That's the Bradley I like to see. You did a video yesterday where you were talking about how we attract one another. You know, you do certain things and you attract the quality people that you want in your life. You do negative things and you're going to attract negative people in your life, and you create all kinds of problems. You're exactly right. It goes right back to your point. Now, I commute between Houston, Mexico City, and San Diego. My operations are actually in Tijuana. We own a oil and gas refinery there. And during my trip, my first trip since March 13, in San Diego, I was devastated to see the depression, the boarded up buildings. I stayed at the Kingston Palomar Hotel on 5th in San Diego, all boarded up. There's literally a glass wall in between the hotel clerk and the guests. Is mandatory to wear a mask. There's actually a sense of depression in the air. It's something that I have never felt or experienced in my lifetime, nor at you. How do we encourage people in an era like this? You have a natural sense of positive energy in you. How do we transmit that to others, Brad, to get them to be out there, to be active, to not give up on themselves, to not give up on our country, and to not give up on our businesses?
Well, number one, you got to just remember things could be worse. Like, I bitch about the masks. Well, things could be worse. You know, there could be mandatory FEMA camps. You know, at the end of the day, you know, ask the Jewish community, you know, would they rather wear a mask or go back to the frickin', what was that called? Damn it, dude. Oh yeah, the Holocaust. Like, you got me so flustered over government. Now I can't even think. But, you know, things can be worse, right? Things can be worse. There's a lot of bigger things that have happened, like wearing a mask is chump change, you know, so I can go on both sides of it. But when it boils down to like just straight breaking our liberties, our rights, I don't like that. So if I'm trying to pump somebody up, hey, things can be worse. However, I wouldn't necessarily try to pump somebody up. I would simply just say that, look, November 4th, all of this ends. So just stick in there, hang in there till November 4th. Watch November 4th. Magically, everything will go away. All the problems will be solved. I truly believe, Peter, that the Democrats and the blue deep state actors are causing complete states and governors and mayors to stay locked down because a few bankrupt companies and a few, you know, financial issues can be solved once Trump's out of the president's office. Now, I may be wrong, but that's what I believe. I totally believe this is all a political play. This is why I get pissed off. Like, there's 535 people bickering so much that the rest of us have to suffer. I thought we ran this country. I thought the whole country was for the collective of all of us, like not the 535. There's people, I got here, I'll read it to you. I've got a post. Okay, now again, they deleted this right away because they did not want this out there, and I think the person posted it in haste. It is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look her up.
Democrat, crazy.
She's a Democrat, but she said it's vital that governors maintain restrictions on businesses until after the November elections because economic recovery will help Trump be reelected. a few business closures or job losses is a small price to pay to be free from his presidency. Who the hell is that lady? Like, dude, what if that is like everything that they're doing? You know, and then you say, well, how would the news play into that? The people that own the media companies could be Democratic. People that want President Trump out could literally be like, I'm not affected by this mass crap. I'm not affected by a few businesses getting closed. The big businesses aren't getting closed. Matter of fact, the big businesses are open. Remember when we couldn't go anywhere, but you can go to Home Depot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like dude, COVID, you can't go to the park. There's COVID there, but go ahead and go to Home Depot. You know, COVID doesn't go to Home Depot. COVID doesn't go to the grocery stores. Don't worry about COVID there. But hey, don't go to the barbershop. Don't go to the gym. Don't go to the small restaurant. Don't go to the coffee shop. Don't go to the park. There's COVID there. Stay home. But you can go to these big places. You think Amazon went up when all this happened or went down when all this happened?
Well, you could go to the liquor stores. You can go to the dispensaries. You can go to all kinds of businesses that you would think, well, you're exactly right. COVID doesn't follow those places. It's only, it's only limited to barbershops and gyms and other facilities.
Let me ask you a question. Do they derive taxes from liquor stores?
Absolutely.
What about dispensaries?
Oh, absolutely.
They're not shutting down their shit. Not only that, look at the lawmakers who decided who gets shut down and who doesn't. Hey, what about liquor stores? Hell no. Where are we going to get our booze? What about dispensaries? Hell no, dude. We just got that shit legal. See what I'm saying? It's like, dude, the 535 people, the governors of these states, I can't believe some of the things they're saying. Look at Seattle. There's an autonomous zone. The city of Chaz, or whatever it's called, CHOP now. The Capitol Hill oppressed people, or whatever they're calling themselves. Dude, they've got borders. They're walking around with machine guns. They took over a portion of that city. Now, that's not mind-boggling. There's some idiots in this world. There's some crazy people in this world, and there's some fed-up people in this world. Maybe they're in there. They're all mixed together. You don't know who's criminal and who's just making a stand, but what you do know is they're breaking the law. You know they're breaking the law. Yes or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So we know they're breaking the law, but yet law enforcement, that's their job, to enforce the law. But the mayor says, no, stand down. My question is, who in the hell is the mayor? They're not our leader. They're not our boss. They're our elected official. They're supposed to be there to speak for us, and we've already spoken. Law enforcement is to enforce the law. You break the law, they're coming to get you.
Absolutely.
They're just allowing people to break the law. Dude, that is a breach of your position. I think it's her. Her ass should be fired. Not tomorrow, not, well, next election. No. You break the law that badly, we freaking toss your ass out right now. Just like the president, dude. Bill Clinton got impeached for a blowjob. Like, dude, it's a normal thing. Everybody does it, but the president cannot. Well, not only that, but hey, I fell for it too. I'm like, well, you know what? He did lie. Do we want a president that lies? No, you don't want a president that lies. Okay, so it wasn't just the act. It was the covering up and the lying and the scandal. Okay, get his ass out. The president, well, why can't we do it to a mayor? Why can't we do it to the governor? The governor here last night got up and said, mask saves lives, period, end of story. Why period of end of story? You're not listening to all the freaking scientists and all the doctors and all the people in the world that say, no, there's more to the story. Wearing masks don't save lives. Okay, you look at the box it says right on there, these masks will not prevent the spread of COVID-19. You know why they're putting on that? So they don't get sued, because they know this mask ain't helping anything. It's not helping anything. But yet they're telling us that we're mandated to wear them. Who is telling us that? It sounds like we're children and they're our parents, or we're prisoners and they're our jailers. Who? Us? Aren't we supposed to be free? Aren't we supposed to be able to have our own choice? See, again, if I were governor, and by the way, I might run for governor of Nevada faster than I run for president, because that's probably winnable. Okay, but at the end of the day, here's what I would have done. People always say, well, Brad, what would you have done? What would you have done? Listen, I would have listened to all the meetings. I would have listened to Fauci and all those other people. I would have factored in everything that they told the governor. Okay, and then I would have held a press release and I would have said, listen, here's what the evidence and here's what the data is. Do what you want with it. Okay, if you want to close your business, close your business. If you want to stay open, stay open. If you want to go to a business, go to that business. If you want to stay home, stay home. My recommendation, based on what I've heard and the shit I believe, I'm going to go home for 30 to 45 days and stay there. Now, you guys can do what you want. That was my recommendation. But we, especially in Nevada, which is my state, are free people. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you my advice, and then I'm going to tell you that at the end of the day, you're an American, okay? And you're able to choose what you do. Now, that's it. Now, again, if someone says, I don't like that, well, then don't vote me in as governor, because that's what I would do.
I love what you just finished saying. Number one, I'm an American, okay? But then there's obviously an egregious abuse of power on the people.
Always.
On the people. But we have not revolted the way we have revolted because of George Floyd. Why? Why? Why do we have to be so politically correct that we can only stand for an issue that is looked at as politically correct? And why can we not revolt for something as egregious as is happening to the collective? Why do we not see?
Peter, again, it's the media spinning shit. Okay? Everybody's not up in arms about George Floyd. They show the people that are up in arms about George Floyd. You know, the majority of the world didn't say one damn thing about George Floyd. The majority of the world are not rioting. They're not protesting. They're not saying shit. They're watching. That's it. So again, why doesn't the government say, 3% of the people are pissed off and rioting and smashing all the shit for the rest of the 97? Because I would say 97% of the population didn't do shit.
Well, why isn't there 3% of the people revolting against what's going on right now with COVID-19? Why isn't there 3% out there creating manifestations? Why isn't there?
I'll tell you why. Because people are smart enough to realize if you go out there and cause a fuss and you go to jail and you become the martyr for everybody else, nobody's behind you. Okay, we've raised a bunch of freaking pansy asses to where now one person goes down there and starts going blah, blah, blah. And the cop comes, arrests that person, and then they put in the newspaper, troublemaker, had a gun on him, and apparently high on cocaine. Everybody goes, oh my God, look at that guy high on cocaine. You don't know that. The media lies. If you are not aware that the media lies, man, you need to wake up. The media lies. Okay, how do I know? Well, I know for a fact, but here's one story just yesterday. Utah, a friend of mine in Utah. Utah says we have spike in cases, right? Hospitals are filling up again. We only have one chance to course correct or we're in big trouble. We're all gonna die. Okay, that's hype. So my friend text the people he knows at the hospital. Is this real or fake? Because it's a headline, man. Is this real or fake? They're like, there's nobody at the hospital. So are there an increased amount of cases confirmed? That may be true, but there is not an increased amount of deaths. There's actually a decline. There's not an increase of people in the hospital. That's the hype. That's the part that I don't get. So again, it should be against the law, but that is a lie from the media. Look, if we don't do something, we're all gonna die. Now, all the little people I call sheeple start panicking. Just wear your mask. Just wear your mask. Stay home. We support this government. This government's only trying to help us. Are you out of your damn mind? The government wants the president out. Okay? Well, what about the other Republicans? Why aren't they saying anything? Who says they're not saying anything? The damn media is Democratic. They're not showing you what they're saying. Why would I show you what the enemy is saying? So my question has always been like, why doesn't the president get their own channel? To where if you want to see what the president thinks and says, it's not the media you watch, it's the president's channel. Like somebody tweet that to the Trumpmeister himself. Okay, get your own channel that's censorable. Like in other words, censorship is not allowed on that channel, and whoever's president is, it's their channel. So like if it's a Democrat, guess what? It's their channel. If it's Republican, it's their channel. And that's another thing, two-party system. Like I don't get that. Republican, Democrat. Why can't a guy like me run? Okay. Well, you can.
Well, a guy like you can run as an independent.
Well, I was about to say that. Well, you can. That's called an independent, but you can't get all the way as an independent.
What happens November 4th if Trump gets elected?
What's that?
What happens November 4th if Trump gets elected? It ends anyway? Everything ends? The Democrats are going to go home quiet?
No, I think they're going to calm down for a minute and regroup, or aliens will be discovered. Quite frankly, the only thing that I see that's comical as hell, but I guarantee you there's a plan behind it, is Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe.
It's comical. It's comical. There's no question about that. It's comical.
Okay, so then dude, Democrats aren't stupid. Okay, they're petty, but they're not stupid. Okay, but at the end of the day, there is no way all of the Democrats are putting their money on Joe Biden when he can't even finish a sentence. You know, the thing, the Cold War thing. What are we saying even? Like, dude, I'm looking for the edits. Like, is someone trying to make this guy look stupid? Or is he just not capable of finishing what he's thinking? That's what it is. He's 77 years old. He's mentally declining. And that's who they're saying is the only person in their whole shebang that has a chance against Trump. I'll bet you money there are a billion other people that have a better chance at winning than Biden. Mark Cuban has a better chance of winning than Joe Biden. Why don't they back Mark Cuban? Why don't they back anybody else? Why are they backing Joe Biden? And he's been there 30-some years. He ain't done shit yet. Why all of a sudden is he going to have the freaking newfound breath to go fix shit? He hasn't fixed shit yet.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that Mark Cuban recanted his position on a possible run. I mean,
that's because he knows better. He knows the president's not in charge anyway.
Well, absolutely. The president is not the problem. It's the Congress and the Senate. That's where the problem lies.
The problem is the 535. That's the problem, which is why I believe that next election, every single one of them need to be voted out and let all new people in there. And then term limits like a son of a bitch. You do not get to get planted in there as a freaking fixture. And I believe lobbying should be against the law. Like, dude, there is no lobbying. Period. There is none of that. Like, dude, do you realize that there's people whose kids get $500,000 jobs, totally unqualified, out of the blue?
Oh, absolutely.
Turns out their dad is so-and-so or their mom is so-and-so. It's like, dude, these are backroom deals, okay? There's hidden camera footage of backroom deals going on. There's political corruptness going on. If people don't understand this, they just need to wake up. Stop acting so freaking naive. There's crooked politicians. Are they all crooked? No. But there are crooked politicians. And when the good politicians go in there, like me, and realize, oh my God, there's only 6 or 7 of us, and we'll basically be thrown in jail, framed, and outed if we don't just shut our mouth and serve our time. Guess what they do? They end up corrupt themselves. They're like, I can't fix it, so I might as well get paid while I'm here.
Now, Brad, you smoked a little weed in Amsterdam. Is that going to prevent you from
That's an incorrect statement. I smoked a lot of weed.
You smoked a lot of weed in Amsterdam. Is that going to prevent you from qualifying for the office of the President of the United States?
No. Go Google right now qualifications to run for President of the United States or hold that office. Believe it or not, there's very few qualifications. I think you have to be 35 years old, citizen of the United States, and what was the other one? That's not true. You can even be a felon. Look, you can literally have felonies on your record. I'll Google it while you're on here. It's not felony. It's qualifications to hold president of the United States. All right, allow me. The requirements to hold office. There's 5 of them. Let's see. Presidential candidate must be a natural-born citizen of the United States, a resident for 14 years, and 35 years of age or older. That's it. Natural-born citizen, 35 years old, and a U.S. resident for at least 14 years. What disqualifies you? One of those. Okay, you're not 35. You don't live here for at least 14 years. You're not a citizen, and you're not a natural-born citizen. Dude, it's not anybody, an ex-felon. You can be anybody to run for president. The question is will people elect you? Okay, and I think just because I stand up and say, I'll go in there and fix it. There's so many people that I'm unaware of that would tear me apart on the media. Like the media, the mainstream media would get together and make it seem like I'm a dirty, crooked son of a bitch just trying to get my foot in the door so I can get power. And, then I'd have my campaigns running that's, approved by Brad Lee. You've seen them.
Absolutely.
So now it becomes a money game. Like I saw a headline the other day that Donald Trump has $100 million advantage over Joe Biden. How in the hell has money got to do with anything? Like, dude, like I said, here the presidential debates, I love those. That's how we should elect people. Like you watch the debates, and at the end of the debate, you vote. Right? You narrow it down like we do. But eventually, if there's 12 people on the ballot, there's 12 possible candidates for the president of the United States. Good. Let's do an all-day debate. Ask some really intelligent questions so we can really understand who they are and what they believe. And then at the end of that debate, all right, cast your vote. Text 8181 to president for Brad Lee. Type 8282 for Mark Cuban. And then it tallies up. Folks, we're about to announce we've got 10 more minutes. Get your vote in. 10 more minutes go by. Folks, we have got a new president of the United States. We do it just like we do on like America's Got Talent.